Alrighty, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure what episode this is, but some people could keep track. But I am joined by Rob. And how do you spell your? How do you say your last name, Rob?
You say it, man. I know it doesn't look that way, but that's how you say it.
Yeah, yeah. Good, good. So yes, radio voice of the Brandon Wheat Kings. A long standing tradition in the WHL. I mean, it must be pretty awesome to be the radio voice of the Brandon Wheat Kings. Just knowing the
I
passionate fan base.
I still smile a little bit every time I tell somebody I'm the voice of the Brandon Wheat King. It's something I got a kick out of as soon as I took the job, and every now and then, if I say that I'm the voice of the Wheat Kings in any context, it kind of makes me smile.
Yeah. I mean, so how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I've been the voice of the Wheat Kings for I'm in my second season now. Play-by-play overall. I was looking through some old photos the other day and realized it's been 10 years of doing this, but two with the Wheat Kings and hoping for more.
And so what do you kind of enjoy the most about being the voice of the Wee Kings? I mean, WHL, there was the ice, but now the Wee Kings are it in Manitoba. So is it the long road trips, or is it is there a favorite building that you like to be in, or is
Boy,
it is it calling games in Brandon itself?
it's hard to pin down one thing because the road trips are fun. They are long, no getting around that, but they are also fun. That said, getting set up before a game in the booth at West Toba Place, there's still kind of a rush before every game. There's a bit of an adrenaline kick that comes from calling a game when you're really excited to do it, and I always seem to be. So I think that's probably the best part. But boy, there's a lot to choose from. Like I said, the road trips are fun, even if they are long.
Yeah, definitely. And what are your so let's kind of go back maybe some of your role models. What kind of got you inspired to be a broadcaster for a hockey team or just a broadcaster overall?
Well, I fell in love with the game pretty quickly when I was a kid, and I think it was also pretty quickly clear that I wasn't going to make a living playing it. So I had to find another avenue to stay connected to the game I love. And in 2014, when I put on the headset for the first time, just almost as a whim, I was working with the Manitoba Bisons. I'd been doing game write ups for them, and I saw somebody up the press box for me doing a webcast, and I asked our boss if I could hop on there one of those games. And immediately it was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is too much fun to want to do anything else in the sport. And it turned out I was okay enough at it to make a living.
Yeah. And so what does kind of a day look like a game day look like? Prep. I should have looked at what the weekend schedule is this week, but what does that Tuesday after this interview kind of look for you?
Well, if today were a game day, which tomorrow actually will be, it's sort of a standard start to the day. You know, you're in the office around 9 and you get your notes done. But after that, I go to the rink for a little bit. I interview one of the players. I interview Marty Murray, our head coach and GM, and then the day sort of moves into a different phase. I kind of get into the next. It's almost a day off within the day. You know, you go home, you make dinner. In my case, I tend to work out on game days because it clears my head. And then later on, you're back at the rink. You're interviewing the opposing coach when they arrive, and then you're up to the booth after you've done your pregame video.
And do you have a color guy with you, or is it just you?
So it depends on whether I'm at home or on the road. On the road, generally, because there's only so much space on the bus, right? On
Right.
the road, generally, it's me. But at home, I've got a gentleman by the name of Pete Gerlinger who works alongside me. Been a color commentator for many years, and he is a gem. Lucky to have him.
Yeah, it's good. And who have been some of your role models that you've looked up to? Is there somebody that you've aspired to, you know, professionally, like somebody maybe on a Sportsnet, TSN panel, or who are some of those guys that we don't hear about?
When I was younger, like really starting to get into the game, I was still at a time where Hockey Night in Canada was on Channel 3, the CBC, because it was the only channel that most people got at the time. And Bob Cole was kind of the voice of Saturday night at that point. Of course, he's no longer with us, but he was somebody that I think you could ask 100 broadcasters around this country, and 100 of them would tell you Bob Cole. He's just was such an icon of the sport and of Canadian history in general. But beyond him, the the commentator that I probably copied the most closely would be a guy like Gord Miller. I can remember listening to him call the World Juniors when I was young, and it's all these years later he's still doing the World Junior games. I can't imagine anybody else doing it, and I do occasionally catch myself picking up mannerisms of his on the call, and he would definitely be a guy.
Well, as soon as you said Gord Miller, I'm like, I can hear a bit of that just because in this interview. So yes, I mean that's a good thing. So we always have to have somebody to kind of aspire to. Is there a favorite to building that you enjoy broadcasting in more than others? I know when I was a kid, I was in the crush can of Moose Jaw. That place is no longer there. Um, I guess I was the only WHL rink I was in, except for the Keystone Center. But is there a particular rink that would stick out to you that would be, hey, I love going there.
Leaving aside West Tova Place, and I'll leave aside the Art Hauser Center too, because I do still like going back there. I obviously spent 2 years there with the Prince Albert Raiders, so I've got a soft spot there. One of my favorite rinks in the Western League is one I only rarely get to see, and that's the Langley Event Center in Vancouver. I really, really like it. It seems to me to be almost the perfect size for a junior hockey rink. They've got this lounge that they have set up there that's kind of like what they do at the Art Hauser Center, where they have a very interactive pregame and postgame show with the fans, which I really like. And the view from the broadcast booth is one of the best in the league. You're right over center ice. You're not too close, not too far. That and I would say Angel of the Winds Arena and Everett are two favorites, and they're also two that I almost never get to go to, but they're two that stand out to me.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's always funny, like with workplaces. Hey, you got to change it up, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, and if it's a special place, then it doesn't lose its novelty, so to speak. So, do you have any superstitions as a broadcaster? I usually ask players that, but
I don't think I'm as superstitious as the players. I've got a very set routine, but that's I think more function than superstition. Certain things need to be done at certain times in order to be ready. I always handwrite my own personal game notes. That's the only thing that I don't know that every broadcaster does, but a lot of us do, just because I had a teacher tell me years ago, and boy, she turned out to be right, that if you handwrite something, you remember it better than if you type it. So when I handwrite game notes about every player, I'm way more likely to remember that player's name. The only other ritual I have is I've got a Spitfire tie clip that comes with me everywhere I go, and I got to wear it for every game. But that's about the closest thing I get to a ritual.
that's good. Yeah, I've heard that too. If you write it down, you remember it way more than hearing it, or yeah, as you say, typing it. So that's always a good thing. You talk about Marty Murray being he's the assistant, he's the general manager and head coach. I mean, again, it talks to the tradition of the Wee Kings. I remember watching him as a kid and him coming back, and you just know like the Wee Kings, like with McCrimmon there. Now he's gone off to Vegas. Um, the new ownership there, etc. Just it is the fan base just as passionate as it's ever been? Sitting at 66 points currently.
I would say, yeah, the fan base has been really passionate this year, really involved in the team. They follow them really closely. They travel very well. You see a lot of Wheat Kings jerseys on the road. It surprised me at first. It's surprising to look through an arena, 20 minutes before warm up and see black and gold jerseys milling among the stands. The Wheat Kings fan base travels well, and they've been good at showing up this year for a lot of the games. I mean, the most recent home game was a Tuesday night in the middle of frigid cold temperatures, so I don't hold any drop in attendance against anybody there. But the games before that, we were approaching 4,000, and it's been a fun year that way because the building is a lot more fun when it's packed, and it's been packed a lot.
Yeah. Are you guys currently in the new building, or is it? Are you in the old Keystone Westman place?
So we're in West Toba Place. It's been renovated somewhat. If you haven't been in a while, there'll be some changes that you notice right away. The big one is the seats.
Okay.
When I went there for the Memorial Cup in 2010, they had the red seats from the old Winnipeg Arena, and I guess they decided, well, it's time for an upgrade, time for a modernization. So they got rid of all the red seats, and now all the seats are just sort of a traditional sort of black leather chair. It's more comfortable, more spacious, and it does have a very sleek, modern look to it. We had a number of teams come in here for the first time since the renovations, and you can kind of hear the players as they stand in that Zamboni entrance by the way they come in. They're looking around and going, this looks way better. This looks way nicer. And I think I would be inclined to agree with them. The renovations have gone over well.
Good. I mean, it's all about the experience. I keep hearing that whether it's with the Bombers or whether it's with the Jets. I was having conversations with somebody here in Steinbach about the new event center. Uh, hey, what can we do? I mean, renovations aside, so it's just yeah, it's one of those things you got to captivate in 2025. It's not just as simple as pay your ticket, right? So.
I'm glad you mentioned the rec center too, because when I worked in junior A in Estevan for 4 years, every year the Pistons were a great team, and they still seem to be. And all I could think is, that great team deserves a great building, and it sounds like they're going to get it.
Yeah, it's there is momentum building. I almost bought a 10 game pack and then my wife goes, you know how our schedule is. Our daughter has volleyball and we're gonna be away and okay, yeah, I get it. So yeah,
Might have to be a per game basis.
yeah, it's gonna be, I think, a per game, but yeah, as you said, I really appreciate those sentiments and anyone who watches that yeah, they deserve this new building probably for the last 10 years. This is no just one off. Um so you did work in Estevan, is that what you're saying?
I did. I was there for 4 years. It
Okay.
was a great time. Love the
Yeah.
city. I still go back to host events there about once a year, and I'm always really happy to go back and see some old faces. They're always really welcoming whenever I go. I had a lot of fun in Estevan. My last year or so there, the hockey season, of course, was cut off due to COVID-19, so that was a tricky time to be there. But other than that, really fond memories of that town.
Yeah, I mean they did host the Centennial Cup there back in 2022. And I had our hotel booked and then Pistons lost the Dolphins. So ready to go, ready to be. But they seem to have a good culture there. And again, junior hockey's always a big deal in Saskatchewan, and you're glad to see the passionate fan bases.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, so working in the SJ, any differences between that and the WHL, or just from a player perspective or broadcasting perspective?
Well, the rinks are a lot different in the SJHL, although I will say in Estevan, I was spoiled. I had a really good broadcast view there. In fact, I think there'd be quite a few rinks in the Western Hockey League that wouldn't match up to it. The Affinity Place is a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. I know you've been around the MJHL. If you've been to Stride Place in Portage,
Yeah.
it's a very similar facility to that, but I would say slightly newer, slightly more modern. Similar kind of layout, but a little bit more modern. As far as the broadcast booths outside of Estevan go, yeah, there are some real doozies. The Larange Ice Wolves broadcast, I can't even call it a booth. It's more of a platform. You climb a wooden ladder to get up to it. You are a hockey stick length away from the ice when you're calling a game. There's been a few times in that building where I've had to duck because if somebody pinches at the blue line and chops a puck out of play, it's coming my way. So that was a fun rink to call games in, but I don't say I miss the experience calling there. But as far as the players go, I've been lucky. I've had good groups of kids everywhere I've been. I've never had any issues. I would say the biggest difference is when I was in Estevan, you have players who are competing for spots in the NCAA, or at least that was the case at that time. The rule changes obviously changed things around there. But at the time I was there, you had players who wanted to go to college. In Brandon and in Prince Albert, you've got players who want to go to the pros, and that's reflected in their habits. For these guys, the next level isn't the NCAA or U Sports, even though for many of them it now will be. When these guys talk about the next level, they're referring to the NHL, and that's a mentality adjustment that I think shows in a lot of the habits that these guys have off the ice.
Yeah, most definitely. When you're talking about the ducking, I can't help but think about Rob Ray from the weekend there.
Oh boy, yeah, that was the hot mic moment of the week. That was they call that. There's a couple of rinks in the Western Hockey League that have that, and the photographers go in there, and they call that the suicide booth
Yeah,
for that exact reason.
right. Yeah, it's even when I'm going to a Gold Eyes game, I'm not first base, third line, especially if I take the family. I'm not risking that.
I I
Even
don't need to show off my lack of reflexes in that public of a setting.
no. Yeah, totally. Is there a favorite player, or is there a particular player that you like to cover on the Weekends?
Right now, I've got a good group to work with. As far as guys who are just fun to watch and fun to deal with on a day-to-day basis, it's hard not to say Carson Bjarnason. He is easy to work with, great to watch. This is a kid you know is going to be a pro for a long time, and just one of the easiest kids to deal with I think I've ever had on any team. He's a genuine pleasure to work with. So between all those things, he'd be a favorite guy. But I've been lucky. There's not a bad apple in that bunch. There's just really good kids to work with across the board. I do miss covering Roger McQueen playing. He's a treat to watch, and obviously we hope he comes back from injury as soon as possible. But for sheer game breaking potential, he'd be another guy.
Yeah, that's good. What are your favorite things about living in Brandon generally?
Brett, Brandon's a good city. The place I live right now, there's a lot of little like walking paths near there,
Mm.
and people who knew me in Estevan will tell you I'm psychotic for this. I'll walk everywhere I possibly can to a frankly obsessive degree. I'm a 15-minute walk from my gym. I'm a 20-minute walk from the grocery store. So I walk absolutely everywhere, and I like that. The other thing I like is being a Winnipeg guy, I am 2 hours from home. This is actually the closest I've been to home since I started my career. So if I need to go home for a weekend, say, I've got that ability. So Brandon's a good city and it's in a good location. I'm in a good spot.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good. Maybe a couple more questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, Favorite NHL team?
When I was growing up, it was the Colorado Avalanche. Of course, I was growing up at a time where the Jets had moved, so I had to find a new team to cheer for. The Avalanche were the guys. Now, the Avs, and my friends hate when I say this, but I'm a fan of both the Avs and the Jets. I haven't been able to give the Avs up, but when I went to my first Jets game, I was actually in the building that game in 2011 when the first exhibition game where Dustin Byfuglien started it out by running over two or three guys in rapid succession. One of the guys he hit actually was Matt Calvert, who in um, a small world type twist was my color commentator a couple times in Brandon when Pete was away. So it's yeah, I've been closer to the game than I ever thought I'd get to be just through this job, but
That's insane. That's
it's hard
insane.
to leave the Jets behind.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wow. That was versus Columbus, and that place was revved. No question. The
Couldn't
Avs
believe it was an
definitely.
exhibition game. It was a playoff atmosphere for a game that meant well in the standings meant nothing, but to a fan base that had been deprived of that for more than a decade, it meant everything.
Yeah, most definitely. And what do you think the Jets need to do, being in first place on February 25th, 2025?
I mean, you got to buy now. You're in your window. You've built up to a point where you are ahead of where anybody thought you'd be.
Yeah,
You've got depth at really all positions. Now it's time to supplement. It would be nice if they could find somebody with some term. The idea of giving up a first round pick to watch a rental player walk away in the offseason. I know a lot of teams do it, and I think if the Jets did it, people would be happy because you still get that shot at the moment. But if you're going to surrender a lot of future assets, I would like to see them get somebody with term, ideally, maybe in that middle six forward slot. This is a dart at a board, but I do follow some people from Buffalo. I have heard a couple people say that Dylan Cousins might be on the block. And if that's true, I don't think the Jets could pick up the phone fast enough. He would be exactly what the doctor ordered.
yeah, yeah. Because I think you're in a position where you do need. I know last year they gave up the first rounder for. I think it was
Monahan, I think, gave them the first rounder, and then they gave up a bunch of others for Tyler Toffoli. Yeah.
right. And so, yeah, there is part of that, but yeah, as you say, they're in their window. Nobody thought they'd be in this position. Let's be honest. This is just awesome to see. Yeah, they barely beat the Sharks, but they still beat them. So,
Well, 10 in a row is 10 in a row.
10 in a row, 10 is 10 in a row, right? So, I think there's going to be some exciting times in 2025. I can't help but think about the Bombers hosting the Grey Cup and the Jets where they are.
Yeah.
Uh, you know where I'm going, right? And
Let's go on a
so,
run.
it's an exciting time to be in the center of Canada. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if there's the nice thing about the NHL playoffs is they tend to go beyond the junior hockey playoffs. They start later, of course. So if there's a whiteout party in Winnipeg, I just might have an opportunity to come down and see it for myself.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'd see you there.
Yeah, yeah, you might bump into me.
Yeah, good,
Still got
good.
an old white Winnipeg Jets jersey kicking around.
Yes. Yeah, and nothing beats a whiteout. I was there in 2018 when they played Minnesota, and
Oh, that was a good one for
oh,
us.
that was game one, and yeah, that was first whiteout I'd ever been at, and that was just incredible to be a part of that. I mean, because you are being part of something that's of tradition and history, etc. Right? So
No, I was lucky enough to be at one in 2015. Of course, that was not a very long one for the Jets, unfortunately. But I was at that overtime game that they lost to Anaheim in Winnipeg, and I still remember the fans roaring for an icing. Just the way people would cheer for absolutely every good play the Jets made. It was something else.
yeah, I was at Boston Pizza at City Place watching that game.
That was a good place to watch it.
Yeah, it was because the fans are going in and you see them come out and yeah, I couldn't get in, but I was that close. So hey, you try to make it all count and worth it. So
Exactly.
uh, any last thoughts, Rob? As my phone starts ringing here.
Other than to say thanks for having me on, and I appreciate the work you do, kind of highlighting some of the sports in Manitoba.
Thank you.
It's a big community, and it's one that deserves the attention.
Awesome. I appreciate the sentiments and all the best to you and your career and good luck tomorrow night as the Vikings play and enjoy your day.
Well, you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. Take care.